Early one morning, Mama F walked to the river to fetch water. The sunlight sparkled on the water, and birds sang softly in the trees. As she approached the riverbank, she noticed a small basket floating near the reeds. Inside, she saw a baby boy, wrapped in a soft cloth, sleeping peacefully. Mama F's heart jumped. She carefully lifted the basket and cradled the baby. "Who could have left you here?" she whispered. The baby's tiny fingers clutched her shawl. She felt a strange warmth in her heart, as if she had been chosen to protect him. She carried him home through the narrow dirt paths of her village. Neighbors waved, curious about the bundle in her arms. Mama F explained softly, "I found this baby by the river. We must care for him until we find his family." At home, she wrapped the baby in a warm blanket and gave him milk. She named him Chaik, which meant God's strength, hoping that he would grow strong and brave. The baby cooed and smiled, as if understanding his new name. That night, Mama F prayed beside Chaik. She promised to keep him safe and to teach him love and kindness. The moonlight shone through the window, casting a gentle glow over the baby's peaceful face. Days passed, and Mama F cared for Chaik as if he were her own. She bathed him, fed him, and sang songs to make him laugh. The villagers became curious about the baby, and some came to offer small gifts. Chaik's bright eyes and cheerful smile won everyone's heart. Mama F often wondered who could have left him by the river. The baby's clothes were fine, made of soft silk, which seemed unusual for a common child. She carefully examined the basket and found a tiny golden amulet hidden in the lining. She showed the amulet to the village elder, who gasped. "This is no ordinary child," he said. "A family of high status must be searching for him. Keep him safe, Mama F, for he may belong to a royal house." Mama F nodded, worried but determined. She continued her daily chores while keeping a close eye on Chaik. The baby's laughter filled the small house, and she felt a mix of joy and fear for the secret she now guarded. Every evening, she prayed that no harm would come to Chaik and that someday, he would know his true parents. She tucked him into the soft blankets, whispering, "You are safe here, my little prince, and I will protect you always." One afternoon, Mama F examined the golden amulet more closely. It had intricate engravings of a crown and tiny letters she could not read. She held it up to the sunlight, and it glimmered brightly, almost as if it was alive. Chaik reached for the amulet, giggling. Mama F smiled, realizing the baby seemed drawn to it. She decided to keep it close to him at all times. "Perhaps this will help someone find you," she whispered. She did not know if it was magical, but she felt it was important. She showed the amulet to a visiting merchant, who shook his head. "Only royal families give such trinkets. This baby is from a noble lineage, perhaps even the king himself," he said. Mama F's hands trembled at his words. That night, she placed the amulet around Chaik's neck. The baby slept soundly, and Mama F watched him, feeling both awe and worry. She did not know who had left him or why, but she knew she could not return him to the river. The village children peeked through the window, fascinated by the baby with the shiny amulet. Mama F laughed softly, thinking, "You are special, Chaik, and your life is about to change in ways we cannot yet imagine." One morning, as Mama F swept the small courtyard, a stranger appeared at her door. He was dressed in fine clothes, but his eyes were gentle. In his hands, he held a sealed envelope. "This is for you," he said politely. Mama F's heart raced. She had never received a letter like this before. Curious, she carefully broke the seal and unfolded the paper. The letter was from the king's messenger. It described the baby that had been lost by the river, mentioning a child with bright eyes and a small birthmark on his hand. Mama F's hands trembled. Could this really be Chaik? She looked down at the baby sleeping peacefully in his little basket. The tiny hand with the birthmark rested on his chest. Mama F's eyes filled with tears. It was indeed him, the prince of the kingdom. She held him close, whispering, "You belong to something bigger, little one, but I won't let you face danger alone." The messenger bowed and said, "The king wishes to meet you and discuss the child's future. He comes with respect and urgency." Mama F nodded, unsure what to do, but she knew that the kingdom search had finally reached her. That night, Mama F tucked Chike into his small bed, thinking of the journey ahead. She whispered a promise, "I will protect you, and I will help you find your family. But I will also teach you love, courage, and kindness." The stars outside seemed to shine brighter, as if agreeing with her vow. The next morning, the king's envoy arrived at the village. He was tall and wore a long robe embroidered with gold threads. His face was kind but serious. Mama F welcomed him inside and introduced him to Chike. The envoy knelt beside the baby. "Is this the child found by the river?" he asked. Mama F nodded, holding Chike close. "Yes, sir. I have cared for him since the morning he appeared." He examined the baby carefully, noticing the birthmark and the golden amulet. "This is indeed Prince Chike, the lost son of the king and queen. You have done a great service, Mama F," he said with respect. Mama F felt both proud and nervous. "I only wanted to care for him. I did not know he was royalty," she replied softly. The envoy smiled and promised to explain everything to the king and queen when they arrived. That night, Mama F prepared a special meal for Chike and herself. She told the baby, "Tomorrow, your real parents will come, but I will always be here for you. You will never be alone." Chike could, as if understanding her words. By the afternoon, the king and queen arrived at the village with guards and servants. The villagers watched in awe as the royal carriage stopped near Mama F's home. The king, tall and regal, stepped down first, followed by the queen, who had gentle eyes and a warm smile. Mama F bowed respectfully. The king said, "Is this our son, the lost prince?" She nodded, handing Chike to the queen. The queen's eyes filled with tears as she held him close. "My little one, we have searched everywhere," she whispered. Chike reached for the queen's necklace and giggled. The king chuckled, lifting the baby into his arms. "You have been kept safe by a brave and kind woman. We are grateful beyond words," he said to Mama F. The villagers cheered as the king and queen thanked Mama F publicly. She blushed, feeling shy but proud. She realized that her small act of kindness had changed many lives, including her own. That evening, the royal family offered Mama F a gift for her service. She accepted humbly, saying, "I only did what my heart told me." The queen smiled, promising that Chike's life would always honor those who cared for him. Chike was taken to the royal palace, but the king and queen promised Mama F could visit anytime. The palace was enormous, with tall towers and gardens full of flowers. Chike's eyes widened at the new surroundings, but he seemed happy in his parents' arms. Mama F stayed for a few days, helping care for him and teaching the royal staff about his routines. She laughed as Chike grabbed at the silk curtains and tried to crawl across the marble floors. The royal family adored her. The king said, "You will always be part of our family, Mama F. You saved our son and our hearts." She smiled, feeling a sense of pride and belonging she had never known. Chike's life changed instantly. He had toys, food, and everything a child could dream of. Yet Mama F reminded him of kindness and humility, teaching him the values that had kept him safe all this time. Before leaving the palace to return home, Mama F whispered, "Grow up to be brave and kind, my little prince. Never forget where you came from." Chike could, as if understanding her words. As Chike grew older, the king and queen brought in the best teachers to guide him. His main teacher, Master Tond, was a wise old man with a calm voice. He taught Chike about reading, writing, and the history of their kingdom. Chike loved learning, but he often thought of Mama F and the quiet village by the river. He remembered her laughter, her songs, and how she used to tell him stories before bed. Whenever he looked out at the palace garden, he imagined running barefoot through the fields again. Master Ton noticed his thoughtful eyes one day. "You have a gentle heart, young prince," he said. "Never lose that kindness. A wise ruler must have both strength and compassion." Jack nodded. He tried to be strong, just like his father, and kind, like Mama F. Every lesson he learned felt important, but he also wanted to understand how the world outside the palace worked. At night, he would sit by the window, looking at the stars, and whisper, "Thank you, Mama F. I will make you proud someday." By the age of 10, Jack had grown into a curious and brave boy. He often asked questions about the people outside the palace walls. "Father," he said one morning, "how do the villagers live? Do they have enough food and water?" The king smiled proudly at his son's concern. "You think like a true leader, my boy," he said. "One day, you shall see it all for yourself." But the queen worried about his safety. "The world beyond is not always kind, my son. Promise me you'll stay close to your guards," she said softly. Jack promised, though his heart longed for adventure. One afternoon, while walking in the royal garden, Jack met a servant's child named Ao. Ao was cheerful and full of energy. The two boys quickly became friends, playing games and exploring the palace corners. Through Ao, Jack learned more about ordinary life, how people worked, struggled, and laughed together. He realized that a kingdom was not just made of gold and power, but of the hearts of its people. When Jack turned 12, the king decided it was time for him to visit Mama F's village. "You must know where your life began," the king said. "That river gave you to us." The journey took 2 days by carriage. Jack watched the fields, rivers, and markets with excitement. When they reached the small village, the air smelled of fresh bread and roasted corn. Mama F came out of her hut, older now but still warm and strong. When she saw Jack, she ran to him, tears in her eyes. "My boy. My prince," she cried, hugging him tightly. Jack held her hands and smiled, "Mama, I never forgot you." The villagers gathered, cheering to see their prince return. The king and queen watched proudly as Mama F told stories about how she found him by the river. Everyone listened in awe. That night, they celebrated under the stars. There was music, laughter, and dancing. Jack felt complete. The river, the village, and the palace were all parts of who he was. While the feast continued, a shadowy figure stood at the edge of the crowd, watching Jack. His eyes were sharp and cold. Later that night, as the music quieted, the man approached Mama F's hut and left a small note at her door. Mama F found it in the morning. It read, "The prince's return brings danger. Someone wants him gone." Her hands shook as she read the message again and again. She hurried to the palace guards who had come with the royal family. "Please, something is not right," she warned. The guards searched the area but found nothing. Still, Mama F couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching. Jack noticed her worry and asked, "Mama, what's wrong?" She smiled faintly, not wanting to scare him. "Nothing, my dear. Just promise me you'll stay close to your guards." That night, as Jack lay down to sleep, he thought he saw a shadow move near the trees. His heart raced, but he reminded himself of what Mama F had taught him, to face fear with courage. Back at the palace, the king called his council together. "Who could want to harm my son?" he demanded. One of the older advisors stepped forward. "Your Majesty, long ago, your brother sought the throne. When the prince was born, he vanished in anger. Perhaps he has returned." The king's face darkened. "My brother, Oko, betrayed this family once. If he dares again, he will not succeed." Meanwhile, Jack overheard whispers among the palace staff about a man seen near the forest. His curiosity grew. "If someone wants to harm me, I need to know why," he told Ao. Together, They sneaked into the old library to find records about the royal family. There, Chike learned that Oko had indeed been banished years ago for plotting against the king. The discovery frightened him but also filled him with determination. "If danger is coming, I will face it, not hide from it," he whispered to himself. One night, a terrible storm swept across the kingdom. Thunder roared and rain poured down like never before. In the chaos, the guards spotted a group of men near the palace walls. The alarm bells rang. "Protect the prince," shouted the captain. Chike was quickly taken to a safe room with the queen, while the king and his soldiers fought to defend the palace. Through the window, Chike could see flashes of light and hear shouting. He wanted to help, but the queen held him close. "Be patient, my son. Courage is not always in fighting, sometimes it's in waiting for the right moment." The storm raged through the night, and by morning, the attackers were gone. But one guard was badly injured. Before he passed out, he whispered, "It was Oko, he has returned." The king clenched his fist. "So it begins again," he said. "We must prepare." Days later, the king called Chike to his chamber. "My son," he said, "until we capture your uncle, you must go into hiding. I cannot risk your life." Chike protested, "But father, I can help." The king placed a hand on his shoulder. "You help by surviving." That night, a small carriage left the palace quietly. Inside were Chike, Mama F, and Ao. They traveled deep into the countryside, to a hidden cottage near the same river where Chike had been found years ago. Mama F held his hand. "It seems the river is watching over you again," she said softly. Chike nodded. "I feel safe here," he replied. As they settled in, Chike promised himself that he would not hide forever. One day, he would return to face his uncle and protect his people. The days in hiding were peaceful at first. Chike helped Mama F farm and fetched water from the river. Ao hunted small animals for food, and they all shared stories by the fire. At night, Mama F would tell Chike about courage and faith. "Bravery is not about having power," she said. "It's about standing for what is right, even when you're afraid." Chike listened carefully. Every word she said reminded him of his true purpose, to serve, protect, and lead with kindness. But sometimes he would stare into the distance, wondering what was happening at the palace. "Father must be fighting hard," he said. Mama F nodded. "He is strong, but he also believes in you." One night, Chike dreamed of the golden amulet glowing brighter than ever. It was as if it was calling him to return. Early one morning, a pigeon landed by their window with a small scroll tied to its leg. Ao caught it and read aloud, "The king has fallen ill. Oko's men have taken part of the palace. Return only if you are ready." Chike's heart pounded. "I can't hide anymore," he said firmly. Mama F looked at him with worry but saw the strength in his eyes. "If you must go, go with wisdom, not anger," she said. He put on his amulet and bowed to her. "Everything I am, I learned from you," he said. Ao packed food and supplies, and the two boys set out before dawn. They traveled through forests and fields, avoiding soldiers loyal to Oko. At every village, people whispered about the brave young prince who might save the kingdom. By the time they reached the palace gates, Chike was no longer a boy, he had become a leader. Inside the palace, the halls were quiet and cold. Oko's soldiers guarded every corner. Chike and Ao hid behind pillars, watching carefully. They found the king locked in a chamber, weak but alive. "Father," Chike whispered. The king opened his eyes, shocked but proud. "My son, you came," he said softly. Ao picked the lock with a small knife, and the door creaked open. The king leaned on Chike's shoulder. "You must rally the people," he said. "Oko rules by fear, but the people still love you." Chike nodded. "Then we will fight not for revenge, but for freedom." They escaped quietly into the night, heading toward the nearby village where loyal guards waited. The rebellion had begun. In the village square, Chike stood on a wooden box and spoke to the people. "My friends, our kingdom has fallen under my uncle's shadow. But together, we can bring back peace and justice." The villagers cheered. Word spread quickly, the lost prince had returned. Soon, hundreds of men and women joined his cause, armed with courage and whatever tools they could find. Mama F arrived, carrying herbs and food for the soldiers. "You fight with your heart, not just your sword," she told him proudly. Chike smiled. "I learned that from you." As the sun set, drums beat through the air. The people were ready. Chike lifted his father's sword high. "For the kingdom," he shouted, and the crowd roared back. At dawn, Chike led his army through the forest paths toward the palace. The battle began with shouts and clashing steel. Arrows flew, and the ground shook beneath running feet. Ao fought bravely beside him, never leaving his side. "We are almost there," Ao yelled as they broke through the gates. Inside, Oko stood waiting, dressed in black armor. "So, the river child returns," he sneered. Chike stood tall. "I am the true prince, and this kingdom belongs to peace, not greed." They fought fiercely, swords flashing in the sunlight. Oko was strong, but Chike's courage and training gave him strength. With one final strike, Chike disarmed him. The palace guard surrendered, and the people cheered as Oko was taken away. The kingdom was free once more. After the battle, Chike rushed to his father's side. The royal doctor tended to the king, who was weak but smiling. "You have done what I could not," the king said proudly. "You are ready to lead." The queen hugged her son tightly. "My brave boy," she whispered. "You have the heart of a lion." Mama F entered the room quietly, her eyes full of tears. Chike went to her and knelt. "You are my second mother," he said. "Without you, none of this would be possible." The king nodded. "From this day, Mama F shall be honored in our palace forever." The room filled with joy and relief. Peace had finally returned to the land. Weeks passed, and the kingdom began to heal. Farmers returned to their fields, merchants reopened their shops, and laughter filled the streets again. Chike rode through the villages, making sure everyone had food and water. He wanted to be a ruler who cared for his people, not just one who wore a crown. The people loved him deeply. They sang songs about the prince who rose from the river and saved the land. At night, Chike often sat by the palace balcony, staring at the stars. "This peace is all I ever wanted," he said softly. And sometimes, he thought he could hear the sound of the river flowing, the same river that had started his story. On a bright morning, the entire kingdom gathered at the palace for Chike's coronation. The king, now recovered, placed the golden crown on his son's head. "You are our hope, our strength, and our future," he declared. Trumpets sounded, and flower petals rained from the balconies. Mama F stood in the front row, smiling proudly as tears rolled down her cheeks. Chike bowed before her. "You will always be the heart of this kingdom," he said. She nodded, unable to speak through her joy. The people shouted, "Long live King Chike." The sound echoed across mountains and rivers. At that moment, Chike knew he would rule with kindness, courage, and gratitude. A year later, King Chike returned to the river with Mama F. The place looked peaceful, just as it had the day she found him. He knelt by the water and said, "This river gave me life, love, and purpose." Mama F smiled. "And you gave the kingdom hope." Chike dropped a golden coin into the water as a sign of thanks. "May it always protect those who are lost," he said. The wind blew gently, and the river sparkled under the sun. It felt as though the river itself was blessing them. Hand in hand, they walked back to the village, knowing that every ending is also a new beginning. Years later, King Chike became known as the King with Two Mothers. He ruled wisely and always visited the villages to listen to his people. He built schools, farms, and hospitals so that no one would suffer the way his kingdom once did. Whenever he saw a child by the river, he smiled and remembered where his story began. Mama F lived happily in the palace gardens, surrounded by laughter and flowers. The people loved her as much as they loved their king. Before she passed away peacefully in her sleep, she told Chike, "Never forget, love is the greatest treasure." Chike carried those words for the rest of his life. And even long after he was gone, the story of the boy found by the river lived on, a story of love, courage, and kindness that would never fade.